Welcome to Turner Classic Movies and our night of neo-noir. Things are about to get very strange as our next film stretches the boundaries of what's normally considered noir. But then, stretching boundaries is what performance is all about. Now, if you were around when this film was released in 1970, you know that was a time of massive upheaval and experimentation, both culturally and cinematically, and few films capture the era quite like Performance. It features Mick Jagger, the most notorious rock star in the world, making his feature film debut. He's the reason Warner Brothers agreed to finance this movie. The studio wanted to profit from the popularity of the Rolling Stones, and the film's co-creator, Donald Cammell, convinced the studio he'd deliver something to rival the Beatles' big hits, A Hard Day's Night and Help. Cammell and his co-director, cinematographer Nicholas Roeg, were given a budget of $1.5 million and virtually no supervision. Left to their own devices and vices, the filmmakers twisted the original idea, London rock and rollers get mixed up with East End gangsters, into something dark, daring, and drug-infused. Yet underneath that wild, whacked-out surface are elements familiar to noir. Chaz, played by James Fox, is a slick hoodlum who revels in the performance of sadistic chores done for his smarmy gangster boss. But when a bit of extortion goes shockingly awry, Chaz is forced to go on the run. Through a classic noir trope, the fateful coincidence, he finds refuge in the decaying pleasure dome of a burned-out rock star. From there, this seemingly macho hedonistic crook entwines with the life of an androgynous hedonistic artist who has lost the demon that once fueled his performances. What follows is a mind-bending exploration of the elasticity of identity. Accompanying these chaps on their soul-swapping journey are two continental wastrels played by Anita Pallenberg and Michelle Breton. Pallenberg was the it girl of the era, a fashion icon who was both muse and stylist to the Stones. Sartorially, she inspired their satanic majesty. In other words, they dressed like her. When Pallenberg made Performance, she was in a relationship with Keith Richards, but when word leaked out that she and Jagger's on-set cavorting involved real sex, Richards would have nothing to do with the film. That put the kibosh on the Stones making the soundtrack. Lots of great musicians filled in, Jack Nitzsche, Randy Newman, and Ry Cooder among them, but not Keith Richards. The pivotal musical number, Memo from Turner, was composed by Jagger solo, and to this day, it's never been performed by the Stones. Performance is not everyone's cup of tea, or psilocybin mushroom, but it's a film both of its time and ahead of its time in the way it deals with gender fluidity and the cinematic fragmentation of time and space. If you wonder what I mean by that, you're about to find out. From 1970, this is Performance. The ending of Performance features a wildly ambiguous twist that, for me, sums up the trippy and reckless spirit of those times. Lots of late-night coffee and weed was consumed by viewers trying to decipher its layers of meaning. My interpretation hews to the basic noir ethos. Not even a new identity can save you from the consequences of your actions. Performance was shot in 1968, when Jagger and the Stones were between recording Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed. When Warner Brothers execs saw the first cut, they were a mite perplexed. The wife of one executive reportedly vomited during the screening, and another hilariously declared, "Even the bathwater is dirty." There had never been this much graphic sex, violence, and drug use in a studio-made film, and Warner's initial reaction was to deep six the whole thing. But writer and co-director Donald Cammell and editor Frank Mazzola salvaged it by making massive cuts, mainly in the film's first half. The jarring cross-cutting between early scenes may seem intentionally arty, but it was really done just to get Jagger on screen earlier, since he is what the studio was paying for. Following its initial release in 1970, branded with an X rating, the film developed critical and cult cachet, and by the end of the century, a poll by the British Film Institute had it ranked among the top 50 British films of all time. Well, that will do it for me tonight, but there's still more noir on TCM, and just as we proved, the films here are always uncut and commercial-free. See you this weekend in Noir Alley.
Next on TCM, Walkabout, then Insignificance, and later, Broadway Melody of 1936. Sing along with TCM tonight.